Two. All right. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
There we go. All right. They're alive. How about that? Welcome to 1 Million Cups. We are excited to have you back for another month of wonderful presenters who are going to bring their thesis before you today. How about this weather shift, huh? Did anybody expect this? It's been quite a turn of events here over the last 24, 48 hours. But we're going to warm it up a little bit in here. So we're going to have some coffee that's on its way. I am Aaron Wiggum, Managing Director of New You, which is a way for diverse talent to imagine, discover, and actualize a 2.0 version of yourself. I also, though, serve as organization lead for, lead organizer for 1 Million Cups here in Tulsa. I want to just announce our leadership team real quick. We have Mitch Sims over here. We have Tara Payne, who is walking around here solving problems. We have Ethan Harkey, who's on his way with coffee. And we serve as the 1 Million Cups team here in Tulsa, Oklahoma. 1 Million Cups is sponsored by the Kauffman Foundation, and it is a way for entrepreneurs to come together to work out their thesis amongst a group of entrepreneurs. I like to call it kind of like Toastmasters for entrepreneurs. And so this is time that we'll spend together kind of working out the kinks of our thesis. Just a few housekeeping rules. We have bathrooms just down the hall here if you've never been to this space. And we want to thank our sponsors this morning, Topeka Coffee. We also want to thank 36 Degrees North for allowing us to use this space. And we're excited to have you all. So we asked how this is going to work. We're going to have two presenters come today, and then we have a bonus presenter who's going to come and give us a little extra nudge. And so it's going to be a 6 to 10 minute presentation, not a pitch, all right? It'll be a 6 to 10 minute presentation with about 20 minutes of question and answer between you and the presenter. And we ask that all criticism be constructive criticism, so that these founders can go and take their business to new heights, all right? In the meantime, we'll have, in between the two presenters, we'll have a brief intermission where you can get some coffee and kind of like socialize, and then we'll have some announcements, and we'll bring up the second presenter, and we'll go from there, all right? So, without further ado, we have a wonderful young lady who comes to us by way of Tanzania. And she's come through ORU, and now she's here in Tulsa, Oklahoma. She's just a new proud graduate of New U, and so I'm so excited to see her stepping out. She just won second place in the Female Founders Pitch Night, and she's on her way to new heights. And so we're really excited. I want you to put your hands together real quick for Ivana Price with Social Bar.
Thank you. So my name is Ivana Price, and I am the founder of The Social Bar. And so kind of giving you a little bit of background, The Social Bar has been around for about a year and a half now. I am not a marketer. I picked up a book, read, found the need, and then just kind of went into it and kind of assisted other small businesses. So before I get into it, I just wanted to say that The Social Bar is an affordable digital creative agency that is providing value with creatively telling stories for small business owners on a social platform. So we provide services anywhere from social media management, social media strategy, photography, videography, website development, ads, the long haul. So right now we're small, but we've been growing. So clicker doesn't work, sorry about that. So what are we here to do? The Social Bar is here to collaborate, educate, and connect. We collaborate with you to execute your vision. So whatever your vision is, whether it's a problem or you want to execute some sort of need, we are here to execute that for you in a creative and a storytelling manner. We connect you to your target market so that way you can connect with your audience and boost your performance. We educate you through sustainable marketing strategies so that you can empower yourself to do it on your own, rather than continually hiring an agency to help you. So if you have no no idea on how to market, if you have no idea on how to even use social media, we actually coach you through their process so that way you can be sustainable in yourself rather than continually using us. We love our clients, but I want to make sure that you understand how to use the social platform, how to develop, or how to go into your own website and manage it on your own. So why now? Specifically, my clients are Black female founders. I do serve the BIPOC community, but lately I've been targeting Black female founders because there's a huge need in the small business industry. Right now, Black female founders are the fastest growing demographic in the world. And we have seen that about 77% of small businesses use social media for their customer service, marketing, and sales. And guess what? There's only 4.3% of Black female founders, social media managers are available to tell your story. And I want to create a safe space for the BIPOC community to tell their story. So let me be that 1%. The problem we're seeing is that for a small business owner, you already have lots of startup costs. It takes about $10,000 to $25,000 for one single campaign going through a corporate digital agency. And that is really expensive, right? It is time consuming. If you really think about it, if you're not really skilled enough, it will take you between 55 to 224 hours in 1 month to create a campaign alone when you're already running a business, you're an accountant, you're the boss, you are thinking of strategies, and then you have to sit down and create all these templates or go in and manage a website. It takes a lot of your time when you could be spending this 55 to 224 hours doing something else, right? So that's where I come in and I help you, and I have my freelancers and I have my small team that will work with you collaboratively to help you, execute your vision. There is limited knowledge, people don't understand how social media can actually assist in scaling your business. 70% of Black female founders do not understand how to use social media to grow their platforms. A lot of the times, you started off, you're doing great, and then you abandon it because you ran out of ideas. So how are you going to continue scaling your business online? And so that's where I come in with my effective campaigns, strategy, and creativity to help you, go a little further. The solution that I've come up is quite simple for now. One, delivering an affordable service to small business owners. Thinking about your budget, what is your minimum, mid, and maximum budget? And then we work with you to figure out what kind of services can we start now in a 3-month contract that will kind of scale and help you move forward. Access to a network of freelancers through a directory. So I have a directory of freelancers. For example, maybe I might not be your cup of tea, or let's say you need a videographer, and I have a list of videographers and you don't want one. So I work collaboratively with you to provide that value and connect you to a freelancer that will suit best your needs or your time frame or your project or your price point. I coach you through the functionality of marketing and social media in itself, how to develop a website, why do we need strategies, and looking at your metrics and what they actually mean, because sometimes those numbers just kind of look like jibber jabber. So I kind of help you on understanding why those metrics are important and why those insights are important to scale your business. Consistency. The one thing that is really lacking is consistency. So I help you create a schedule to where we're consistently engaging with your audience, consistently posting, consistently putting those campaigns out there, figuring out what do we need to do right now to help you be seen, to help you build awareness of your brand. So throughout my time in this about 1.5 years, a lot of things have changed. But I've assisted right now over 20 businesses, and I have a network of freelancers that have also helped me boost performance by over 400% and sales for small business owners by 80%. And we have raised right now about $40,000 in capital since then, and I've gotten 3 grants since then, so that has been really, really helpful in assisting my business go further and actually hiring a team rather than having freelancers. So we've been able to accomplish and tackle more projects because of that capital. An example story would be Lisa and Mandy. Lisa and Mandy were new female founders They were living in a community where they wanted to educate women to embrace their natural hair. They wanted to create a beauty parlor that is a one size fits all. So essentially, not just hair. You want to come and get your nails done. You want to come get your facial, your lashes, all that stuff. So they took so much time and intentionality in building their space. But one thing that they left out when they opened is they forgot to post on social media. So their community really didn't even know about this beautiful place. So what did we do? So they hired a social bar. We came in, asked them about their goals, their KPIs, and what they're trying to achieve. We found out that they really wanted brand awareness. They wanted to tell the community about what they're actually trying to do. And of course, they want more clients. And they wanted to hire more people. But before hiring more people, we needed to execute marketing. So we used all the social platforms that we could get. So we did strategy, we did YouTube videos, we did Twitter, LinkedIn, and we just consistently posted about what they're trying to do, what their messaging is, what is behind the curls and mimosas, which is what their brand is called. And upon doing that, they gained so much awareness that they started getting more clients coming in to where their hands were so full that they had to hire more people and tell a friend to tell a friend. And this place was booked 24/7, so, which is really great. I mean, it just shows that social media is such a powerful tool when it comes to promoting your business. So they've been able to increase their sales by literally 250% since opening in just 1 year alone. So our revenue model kind of has changed as well. This is kind of from last year, but to explain, we have different packages right now. We have the platinum, gold, silver, and bronze. So basically this revenue model just shows like our different types of services, which this is not limited to just this, our different types of services and what can be offered according to your price point. Because not somebody may need a landing page, not a full website. Somebody might need just one to post once a week. So we have that level, and that's why we think about your minimum, mid, and maximum price point, and there is a service to every level for you. So we collaboratively work with you to give you that value based on your budget base, because we understand that you are a startup and there's certain things that you also need to execute. So we will work with you, and as you grow, we're committed to grow with you. So that is one thing that I really enjoy being a part of the social bar, is working with small business owners and watching them grow and seeing them being involved. And as they evolve, we evolve as well. And seeing that work come out of that brand awareness is always such a fruitful thing. So the competitive analysis upon looking about in the community, a lot of social media managers or agencies right now, they don't give you that coaching piece. They want you to just use their service. They want to come and show up, execute the task and go. But we build relationship with you. We coach you on how you can be sustainable on your own. Not only that, we have a great access to freelancers, like I said, specifically for the BIPOC community, giving them access and opportunity as well to work with you and connecting them to small business owners. So we give value at every step of the way. And we really, that collaborative piece is so important. I keep mentioning that over and over because I'm not just here to tell you what to do. We're not here to just execute and go. We want to work and make sure that you are enjoying the service, that you like what you see. If we have to change things up, we're here to do it and work with you. And we are here to we're here to listen to what you have to say and what you like every step of the way. And if you don't like the service or you don't like how it's going, we're here to step in and let you know, like, what can we do further? Where do you want to go? So upon evaluating the market, I have seen there's about 10 million Black female founders in the world today. There is 2.7 million Black female founders in the USA, even since the pandemic. And I want to be able to reach about 16,000 in Oklahoma alone, if we can grow at that. Because I'm a growing business and we're a growing team, I want to be able to assist the BIPOC community by providing that value and growing a team of just simply BIPOC founders that can help each other and grow in that community that have those creative skills. So the question is, I really, really thought about it. What do we need right now? The biggest thing is when I was researching I work with a lot of creators, and one thing that they lack is financial literacy. I want to be able to develop a directory where they can connect with a financial advisor where they can invest in their capital properly, rather than just hiring an accountant, but really understanding that financial literacy piece and how they can build wealth in entrepreneurship. Because I work with, like I said, I work with a lot of contractors and people on my team in itself. We're still young, we're growing, but we want to make sure, how can we use this capital? How can we build wealth? And where can we invest? Community collaboration. I want to continue having events where, you know, we connect freelancers to small business owners, and they actually get business out of that. So that would be really, really great. Spreading the word, you know, letting people know about that this business exists, and that social media and this digital agency is highly effective and highly valuable to you as a small business owner. I mean, upon interviewing some of the clients that I've worked with, they have just seen a tremendous growth. So it'd be super helpful to continue telling a friend to tell a friend about us and getting us to work with them. You do get a 15% discount referral, so I'm just letting you know. See a need, meet a need. So one biggest thing is, because we're a digital creative agency, one thing that we're continually working on is equipment. We are constantly in need of equipment, but if we can get talent that has the equipment, so connecting someone who either knows website development or photography, whatever, and has that equipment that wants to work with us, we're always open to contract. Typo. Okay, so lastly, our team. So I'm the CEO and the founder, and then I have my digital media director that assists in a lot of areas. I just hired on an executive assistant and a content creator that will be able to, you know, have a faster turnaround when it comes to creating for our clients. And my name is Ivana Price, and I am the founder of the Social Bar. And here's my, if you want to connect, here's the QR code that can lead you to my website and my other social links. So thank you.
All right, so this is the participation piece. We got some Q&A here. And so who would like to kick us off with Q&A? We asked that when they asked the question that you will repeat it for the online viewers. Sure. Thank you. Who would like to kick us off? All right, we're going home. No, I'm joking.
I was just wondering, on the team slide, are you related to the team member? You both had the same last name.
Yes, so we're yes, that's my husband. So I hired him. So yeah, I mean, I tried because I am like new. So my husband is the executive media director. He does a lot of the photography and video. I was doing it on my own, and I was like, wait, my husband is a creative. Why am I not using him? So he helps a lot. So if I'm not present, you will see his face more. So he does a lot of that as well. Yeah.
Do you find, I'm also looking for questions, so I'm going to ask another one, but raise your hand if you're ready. Okay. Is there any particular niche that you find yourself working in, or?
So if I were to break up the niche that I'm working on, basically the target market that I am focused on, is the BIPOC community, but also people in the middle to high class demographic as well. Someone that has been working, is in their startup phase of the business, or has been around for about 2 years or so. Right now we're just getting into tech-enabled businesses, or if you're in tech and coding, whatever, we're working with businesses like that as well to promote, because we understand you're working so hard on the product development, you're working so hard on the coding aspect or technology, or you already have one and you just haven't promoted it, or it's just too much. So we're slowly moving into tech companies right now, so that's been a big plus. For example, one of the biggest things that I've seen that is a need is newsletters, email marketing. So we do that as well when we work with you. So there's a program for there's a service for whatever your need is, and we work with you in that. I hope I answered the question.
Hello. Being as though that your business is fairly new or in its newer phase, What have you found to be the most challenging or difficult part about your startup company, and how have you overcome some of those things?
Okay, the most difficult part of the startup and how I've overcome that, there's been a lot. So starting, I was the only one managing 4 or 5 clients at one time and creating and having a full-time job. Because I just went back to a full-time job. So full-time job plus full-time business, yeah, that's a lot. I think that is hard. But then developing a schedule and a work-life balance to where I know this is the time that I'm committing to this. And also really, really planning and over-communicating with my clients to understand what do they need right now, or what do we need a month from now. And then being that leader, one of the biggest things that's been challenging is me stepping into a leadership role to where now I am delegating tasks to my team to let them know exactly what I need and trusting that they'll execute that. But also the biggest thing has been, capital is always a big thing, because I started this business with no capital. It was just my own, my own seed money. And because it was a tech enabled, but I built from that and, opening a separate account, saving, because I needed equipment. So the biggest thing is equipment. But one of the biggest things we always say is like, all you have is all you need. So I started with nothing, and now we've grown in a year and a half, and we're getting everything that we need, serving about 6 to 7 clients at one time, and not missing one is pretty amazing to me. When I look back and I'm like, yeah, that work-life balance piece and like being really disciplined, but also having time to yourself, because you will lose your mind if you're not taking time to yourself. So mental health piece is also very important as a business owner. So, yeah.
It's kind of a continuation of what she has just asked. If there was one thing you could tell a woman who is trying to, or wanting to become a founder, but is very hesitant, something to tell her to just do it, what would you, in your coaching, kind of do that to make sure that they go?
I will tell you an inspirational story on how this came about. Your question was, what would I tell a woman who is trying to be a female founder? And my advice would be, let me give you a little bit of backstory. I started this business during the pandemic, working from home at a job that I really hated. And all my friends were starting businesses. And I was like, I do not want to be here. But I didn't have the skills. I have a degree in early childhood education and special education. No marketing background. All I did was, in that time, I thought about it and I said, what can I do to research right now to solve a problem? And I just, like I said, I read a book, read a couple more, and I was going to start, it was July, and I was going to start in December. And I just woke up one morning and said, let's just do it. Let's start. And I think a lot of people say that is like, just start, learn from your failures. If you want to, you want to catch those in your beginning stage, and you're going to fail along the way, and you're going to learn. And I think take those opportunities to be like, okay, I've overcome one failure. How can I move forward? So it's just start, just don't think about, and don't overthink it. Don't think about all the things you need to do. What can you do right now? What is important? What is priority right now? If you want to start with a business, if you want to start with a business and have a website, focus on the website. And if you don't want to launch yet, that's fine. But tell a friend to tell a friend about your business, and you can have clients that are like, you're still working on actively while you're making this big thing. And then as you grow, you get connected to a network of other people who will help you along the way. I wouldn't be here if I hadn't met other entrepreneurs who told me how to run a business, or who told me, hey, maybe you can do it this way, or here's an integration, or, here's all these steps. So yeah, I would just say, just start. Don't let fear hold you back from an opportunity, because it's going to continue holding you back.
Any other questions? Going once? All right, let's give Ivana a hand.
Thank you.
So we're going to swap out presenters. Feel free to go and grab some coffee in the meantime. And then we're going to be right back up here in about 2 minutes with our next presenter with his company. All right, thanks.
Hello. Okay, you can hear me. Good morning, everyone. I hope that you are enjoying 1 Million Cups. My name is Tara. I am a part of the leadership team, and I am here to tell you about Global Entrepreneurship Week, which is next month on November. How about Startup Grind? Why don't you come tell us about Startup Grind, Peter? Is it the 17th of November? So there is Startup. Have you guys ever heard of Startup Grind? Yes. Okay. So if you like startup stories, then you will love Startup Grind. November 17th, same week, Global Entrepreneurship Week. I'm also on that team with Peter. Thank you so much for the reminder. We will have Tracy Poole, the CEO and founder of 46 Capital, who will be telling his story. So you don't want to miss that either. The whole week is going to be packed full of entrepreneurial stories and workshops. So tell a friend, as Ivana said, and tell a friend and come join us. All right, back to you, Aaron.
They could get away with it forever.
Okay, so we have a bonus treat today. We have another company that's going to come give us some quick tidbits on how to best protect ourselves. So in the spirit of, this is Cybersecurity Week, or month, there we go. In the spirit of Cybersecurity Month, we have this gentleman who's going to come and just give a brief presentation of himself and his business. So please put your hands together for Ben with Ninja Technologies.
Thank you, Aaron. We'll see if we have audio. So what we're sharing today is about your devices that you have at work. So, by show of hands, how many people have done any sort of business on a cell phone for work?
And they could have if it
Almost everybody. And how many of you have ever been nervous when it comes to the end of that life cycle of it? How many of you have ever been nervous when it comes to the end of the life cycle of a device to hand it over to Goodwill or Best Buy or to a buyback program or something like that? You probably have a drawer full of cell phones in your house, right? Yeah, right? I mean, we all do, because who knows what to do with that data? And if you turn it over and that data is not really gone, what's somebody going to do with it? What would you do without your data for one day? But think on the flip side, what would a hacker do with your data for one day? And that's what we're going to highlight here. I'm not sure if we have audio yet. Do we, Mitch?
I think the audio is a bit delayed, but we'll try it out. And then if we can't hear it, just walk us through the.
Yeah.
They had a place where they'd store it, right under our noses.
All right, it's glitching out, so I'll just tell you about it. So we love technology, right? So this is Jim Puckett. Jim Puckett is the founder of Basel Action Network. And what they do is they put GPS trackers inside of devices, and then they drop them off at Best Buy and Goodwill and buyback shops and with Dell's recycling program, and they see where all of those devices go. They partnered with Sensible Labs at MIT, and they've got these little just GPS trackers. They stick them inside of LCDs and inside of computers, things that you might have data on. And then they sit back and they watch where those GPS trackers go. So what Jim Puckett did is he found that 1 out of 3 devices that we think are being recycled here in the United States are actually being exported. So that poses 2 problems. We've probably all seen those pictures and the videos of the burn pits where kids are going through, sorting through, getting little pieces of scrap metals, trying to find the gold and the precious metals. But they're sorting through needles and poking metals and things like that. Now that's bad and it's terrible. But how does it affect you? Well, the data is still on most of those devices. A company called Blanco did a study, and they found that 78% of drives that companies think they actually wiped weren't actually wiped. And you're about to hear from Jordan, and his company's done some partnership projects with us before. And out of all of the projects that we've done, 100% of the companies that said that they've fully encrypted their drives, who are regulated companies, didn't actually do it well enough. They still had data on their drives, even though they thought that they had wiped their drives before they'd sent them to us. So what happens if my company was not actually a good company? What if those drives that had data on them had gone downstream? What kind of damage would that cause? So those are just some quick questions that I'll pose to you. I don't have a solution or enough time to tell you about the solution anyway. So I'll just make you really nervous right now. And then maybe we can talk a little bit later.
Thank you, Ben. Appreciate it.
All right, you want to call that stirring the pot, huh? How about that? There's silence in the room. He put a hush over the crowd with the. Too often, though, we don't think about what's happening in the data once it leaves our hands or once it leaves our premises. And so we're going to bring Ben back to take us into his solution, deeper into Ninja Technologies. We didn't want to infringe too much upon Jordan's time here. So once he gets ready to roll here, now I want you to give this guy a special hand when it's time, okay? He drove in this morning from Oklahoma City in the cold. That means he had to get up extra early, and he made the trek down the highway. So you ready to rock? Yep. All right. So let's give a warm Tulsa welcome to Jordan here as he presents his business. Come on.
Okay, I am Jordan Caldwell, co-founder and CEO of Critical Fault. We are our primary offering is digital and physical penetration testing. What that essentially means is white hat hackers. We go in and attack companies, both their digital assets and physical locations, to determine what gaps may exist in their security, so we can then provide them a report. They can fix those gaps before an actual bad guy comes in. Just a little bit about us. There are 3 co-founders. That's also Chris and Joan up there. I always like telling a little story about how we got started. We actually use some of the techniques that we do in our job. I had a laptop that was from 2009, and somewhere in the mid-teens, it got hit by ransomware. I pretty much just considered it written off. I'd already built another computer at that point. It did have a cryptocurrency wallet with some Dogecoin on it that I'd bought when Dogecoin was brand new and super cheap. I thought it was funny, didn't spend a whole lot of money on it, and had just essentially forgotten about it. And then I'm sure everyone heard about all the crypto markets going crazy when the pandemic also hit. Chris finally came over and demanded I give him my laptop. So we took it over to his house, put it on our digital forensics rig. We're able to, even though the hard drive was encrypted and wouldn't be able to work normally, we were still able to find the wallet file through the digital forensics, pulled it off. I remembered enough of the passphrase that when we put it in a password cracker, it only took about 8 million guesses. And literally, it was 8 million over about 2 days before it was able to crack the encryption with what I had to input there. We were able to open the wallet, and it was enough that Chris and I could take the risk of quitting our jobs to start our company. Obviously, I'm still here, so it wasn't enough I could retire on, but it definitely helped us out for getting started. We started. The biggest problem associated with our company that we see out there we've discovered tend to not be aware of the vulnerabilities that do exist with both their cyber and especially physical security and how that can relate back to their digital assets. What we have really been trying to do is just get out in different communities, talk about what we do, the fact that there are proactive solutions that you can do before you actually get hit. You don't have to wait until after, where you're now a new news story, depending on what company that was hit. I'm sure everyone has heard about some huge company that they probably use, and company would have your own data that's been hit. I know Uber was a big one recently. The IHG hotel chain, Target's been hit like 5 times at this point, I think. So we're really just trying to spread awareness for how there are people out there that would use the same techniques that these bad guys are using to show you what's wrong in your systems before those bad guys actually come in. And so this is just a listing of a lot of the things we do. Like primarily it's the penetration testing. We can also do digital forensics, which that's one thing we've partnered with Ben. Some of the hard drives that we've dealt with came from a medical facility, which has a lot of protected information. It was supposed to be completely wiped. It was not. We were still able to recover a bunch of medical records from those drives. So we can also do incident response with that to see how someone was hit after. We definitely prefer doing a proactive rather than a reactive. And then we also offer training and automated scans. Those are especially helpful for smaller companies because they are definitely less expensive than some of the more intensive options. And then just a little more about us. We have a pretty varied background that's a little unique. Chris is kind of the traditional IT guy. In high school, he's worked IT help desk. He was actually a developer for several years, writing code. That's what got him interested in security, because he saw how easy it was to write insecure code. And he got really interested in what can I do to fix this? So then he got to the security side and had been doing that for several years for a few companies before we started our own. Joan has actually been the head of a rural school's math department for about a decade now. And teaching is a big passion of hers, so that really helps with a lot of our education outreach. She enjoys teaching. And then I actually have a degree in physics, and a lot of my background's in the environmental side of things. I have a couple of research papers I co-authored when I worked with the EPA, and I also worked for the state of Oklahoma. I was one of their primary risk assessors, and also got to do the physical security of nuclear material in the state. So that's one thing that really relates back to what we do now. So just a real quick, the 2 biggest things that we really would like some help with. One is just a general talk about cybersecurity more. It's gotten a lot better. I think one reason why people weren't aware of this is because companies kept it secret when they were hit. And I think that only hurts everyone, because when people don't realize how often even these huge multi-billion-dollar companies are being hit that have cyber teams, people just don't realize that there are these attackers out there. There's attackers for every size company there is. So just talk about it, because the more awareness there is, just the better that's going to help. And then something a little more direct to our company is insurance. The state of Oklahoma has apparently ridiculous insurance requirements to be able to work with them. I've been laughed at on the phone when I've talked to different brokers and told them what the requirements are, because they had never heard anyone having requirements that high. So if anyone has any good connections with any insurance people, I would like to talk with them, because we have not been able to find anything that would meet the state's requirements yet. And then just contact info, and ready for questions.
We'll like to start us off with questions. All right, back in the corner.
So, is your process a one-time engagement where you and your team come in and do an assessment or try and hack in, or is there some sort of ongoing process? And then the second part of it too is, once you have your findings, you just turn it over to the IT team, or
I Ideally, it would be a continuing process because the technology world's never static. There's always new programs coming out. There's new processes, all of that. It's really going to be up to the company and what they want to do. We would always push for ongoing. One thing that we can do, the automated scans that we can do, that's a good way to keep it with a lower cost, but still continuing for the at least low-hanging fruit that hackers would hit, and make sure changes you're making aren't affecting that level. Because our scanning software, it's updated with, hundreds of new vulnerabilities probably a week. I know I get an update of all of them, and it's a massive list. Some companies rotate through. They just like having different companies. So they'll do it yearly, but it'll be a different company doing it each time. It's just really specific for the deal we work out with them. And then how we like to do it, we don't just want to give them a report and say, here you go, thanks. We actually want to help them. We will continue communication, make sure they understand what's in the report, they understand how to use it. There'll be parts of it that'll called a risk register and a control catalog that really kind of helps them document and keep track of everything they have, the risks they have. We'll provide their IT team training on how to use that, how to keep that updated. We can even design custom training for their whole company based on our findings, if there were particular things that would make sense to focus on, because a lot of the vulnerabilities that happen are human aspects. So that will also be something we like to incorporate. But we definitely, no matter what we do, don't want to just hand it and be like, here you go, okay, bye. Because a lot of times there's a process after. It's not just a simple fix. It usually takes months after an engagement to implement everything.
Jim?
As you grow and build out your team, I'm curious about, cyber talent. Is that something you see as a challenge?
Cyber talent is definitely a challenge, especially in Oklahoma. We're definitely getting better about it. That's one of the outreach things we're doing. We are looking at potentially receiving some funding from a company that would include even more of that about getting local talent. We realize that a lot of our work can be done remotely, so that definitely does help. We would prefer to keep it in Oklahoma as much as possible. But sometimes it's just, depending on how urgently you need it, it's just not there. Tulsa is a great school in their cyber programs. Rose State with their associates has a good one. And then a lot of the VOTECs are actually getting really good about working with high school students, and they'll actually graduate with a certification or two, which in our world, degrees aren't the end all be all. You can come in, and have never gone to college, but you have a list of certifications, you've done some programming, and like you've done, basic IT help desk work, and that can be even better than having a degree. So that's one of the things we are trying to make people aware of, especially in more remote communities and more indigenous communities and minority communities that have kind of been ignored, that they can stay in their community and a little bit of work, they can have a really well-paying job. They don't have to leave their family. All they need is a good internet connection. So we're really trying to spread that outside of just the cities and the hubs you think of. And I think that'll definitely help cyber talent. Not immediately, it'll take a while, but several years in the future.
So in the room we have small businesses, startups. Are you able to say how much it would cost to have an audit done?
The easiest thing usually for small businesses are the automated scanning, just because usually the attackers going after them are less sophisticated and they're using a similar form of attack. That, depending on the size, and a few thousand for that training, we could probably do for under 1,000, depending on how much they would want to do and how intensive. So we definitely have options for smaller businesses. The full-scale engagements are intended usually for companies that are probably at least 50 or 60, where they at least have an IT person employed, because that's going to need to be who's implementing a lot of these recommendations we have. And just since that requires more manpower to do, it just gets more expensive. But we try to have some type of option, especially with the training, that most companies could take advantage of.
So I got one more. Oh, okay. So you said low-hanging fruit, like
Mhm.
give us an example of low-hanging fruit.
Those are just well-known vulnerabilities that like would have patches out that just you need to update. That there's automated systems that hackers can employ that attack them automatically, that don't actually require a person to go in and follow multiple steps to create a vulnerability. That it's just pretty much you hit this one thing and you're into a system. It can also include using password lists to see if you have a leaked password out there that allows login. So stuff like that, that's really easy to automate.
Can you give us a little bit of a freebie, right?
Okay, yeah, I do have one that two-factor authentication.
Okay.
I don't care how annoying it is, absolutely do it. Some of the recommendations we give, we understand that it creates more of a hassle and it may not be worth it. We will not budge on two-factor because it is such a simple implementation. It's usually free or very inexpensive, and it can stop a huge amount of those automated attacks. There are still ways around it. That's actually how Uber got hit. They social engineered someone to give them their two-factor code. So, I mean, it can still be defeated, but it provides such a degree of protection for its cost that it's absolutely, anything you can turn two-factor authentication on, do it.
You said Uber got hit. If everyone here implemented that, I'm assuming that they're not the target of something that's going to implement as many resources as it took to social engineer Uber. And so everybody here would likely be...
Yeah, and the funny thing about Uber, it wasn't even necessarily your typical bad actor. It was an 18-year-old kid that I think was just seeing if he could do it. Because once he got in, he wasn't even sure what to do with all the data he now had access to as an admin. Because there's multiple categories of attackers. There's ransomware, which is its own industry, where they lock you out of your systems and pay us money to give you access back. I've actually heard from people, the best IT help desk experience they've ever had are calling these ransomware companies. Because they've been really helpful. It's like, yeah, tell you all the steps, we'll hold your hand the whole way through, tell you how to send them money in Bitcoin. And it's an actual industry. I mean, it's close to $1 billion for small companies, at least, and in the multiple billions for large companies. Then there's the attackers who get the data just to sell. That's a whole different approach, different group. Then there's guys like the kid with Uber that, just they like to see the world burn, just see what they can do. They're not necessarily trying to release data or lock out systems. They're just saying, hey, what can I do? And then there's the nation state attackers that are funded by governments. And like you hear a lot of that with like Russia and North Korea and China.
The story is from my sister company. It's a hacker and came in like hacking into the system and information and whole account and information. Ask people a ransom, like 1 million.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think it happened like 5 years ago, and the company like, okay, here's 1 million. And then it happened recently. The same hacker will come back and like do the same tactic, and the company like, okay, and they ask people like 5 million, this time they have like, okay, we pay 5 million. They don't want to. They're like it's too small for them. I think to like implement something.
If they're able to pay out that high of a ransom, I wouldn't say they're too small to implement the fixes. What we're it's and so that's one thing we try to show. I mean, it's like it's not super cheap, but we're never going to be nearly as expensive as what a ransom could be, and especially if you add in the costs of recovering from these attacks and time spent on just fixing things that you could have been doing on operating as normal. One of the best examples of that was the Indian Health Service clinic in Oklahoma City was hit in March, and at least as of last month, they were still recovering from it. They had backups that were multiple years old, so they couldn't just recover from that. And that's one thing that, like, when we would have gone in, we would have seen that and said, hey, no, create new backups, make sure you keep them updated. So a lot of that just to the education and letting them know cheaper that you can do than just waiting until you get hit. And especially, I would assume those payments were coming from cyber insurance. That's going to get harder and harder to get, and it's going to get much more expensive. And so it's not something that you should ever just expect to rely on for these payments. And it wouldn't surprise me if it becomes a thing like it is with homeowners insurance, that if you have one big claim, they may just kick you. They'll pay that one claim and then say, oh, you have to go to the high risk pool now. So I think we're going to start seeing insurance companies driving people to doing this proactive work a lot more too.
To that point, Jordan, what percentage of your business would you say is proactive versus reactive?
Fortunately, most of it is proactive. Usually the ones that you hear about that are really reactive, they have huge like retainers with like Verizon or these very large teams. But we've been fortunate enough that we haven't really had to do any reactive with our clients as of yet.
Can I ask a follow-up on that? So with the example of her sister's company that paid $1 million and then $5 million, if you were to remediate that, just in a ratio, how much money could they have saved if you had come in on the front end and build them then, as opposed to coming on the back end to fix it?
Yeah, we will say there's no guarantee that you're going to 100% prevent it, because it's, like I said, it's always changing. But, and it's hard to say without the size of the company, but I mean, 10% at most, and that would be a huge engagement, a very intensive one, but probably less than that. Yeah, that would be towards the bigger side of companies for that kind of, but I would be surprised if it's very often even over 5% of what usually they would lose out on.
What are the types of companies that you're working with?
The ones that we're working with, especially just because of the environment in Oklahoma, we've done several oil or energy related companies, utilities, medical systems. But the way the world's working now with people having more and more digital presence, it's not really limited to any specific field like it used to be. And especially we're noticing a lot of companies are starting to write their own software. So even though, like one of our clients, they are by no means a software company. They make oil services products, actual machines. That's by far, like if they were going to say what they were, they're a manufacturing company. But all of their devices depend on the software that they've written specifically for them. And without that, they have 8,000 devices that are junk out in the field without that software working correctly. So even they still have a huge software component that can make them vulnerable. So it's really almost anyone at this point. We know of an oil laydown yard, which is just pipe shipping. They got hit with ransomware for $400,000 that they had to pay out. And it's because it locked out their shipping and their accounts receivable. So essentially they could not do business. And it's just because that one system that was vital to how they operate was connected to the internet and it got hit. So there's really no specific market that can not think about this anymore.
This is new to me, so this question might sound obvious to you, might sound crazy, but once, let's say a company does, it's infiltrated and then call you, are you able to like reverse that?
It depends on what you have set up. That's one thing that when we go in and do it proactive, we make sure you have some way of generating backups and making sure those backups are secure and can't be changed. If you've implemented that, then that's something that we can really help and come back with. Without backups there, it's a lot harder. It's going to depend on what type of encryption the attackers used. If they use bad encryption, we might be able to decrypt it ourselves. But if they used really good encryption, there's not a lot we can do if there's not backups. We can go in and look and see how they got in, so you can make sure that doesn't exist anymore. But that's why we really try to focus on the proactive, because the having those backups is kind of your fallback on option that we want all companies to have, to make sure that if they do get hit, which is there's always a chance, that they can then just cut their losses, back up from maybe a few weeks ago, and then recover from there.
What does growth look like for your company since inception? How did you like hit a hockey stick over the pandemic, or like?
Because of what we do, having a company like this would be a great cover for the bad guys, because we're doing the same things the bad guys are doing. It's just we're not exploiting the company after. So part of it is just really making ourselves known and showing that we're legitimate out there, because companies do get really nervous when they work with us, because we are, sticking our fingers into their pie and have the potential to do a lot of damage. So there's definitely, that's been a bit of a hill to overcome. And then there's always that balance of, do you hire someone now, or do you wait till you have the job, especially because our positions are not cheap. So we do have a few contractors that have helped with that. And we definitely have had growth. I would have loved if it had been faster, but it's still growing, and the outlook looks pretty good. It's just definitely been a lot of work.
To that point, how do companies know who's legit and what should they look for?
A lot of it's going to be recommendations from other companies. So that's one of the hardest things, is getting those first few clients, because then you can have them and be like, yeah, these guys came in, they were legit. Looking for companies that go to security conventions and having their people speak. That's one thing that we try to do a lot of. It just shows that you're a presence in the community. It's a relatively small community, so if you do come in as a bad actor, it's going to be found out pretty quick. So it's just really making yourselves known and working to maybe make some partnerships with people where you can get a few clients, which that's what we did. We had a partnership with an auditing firm, and that's where we got some of our first clients from, that we can now have as recommendations for if someone else wants to see and talk to someone that we've worked with before.
So the auditing firm found you through a recommendation?
It was actually a firm. No, we actually got lucky with that. The auditing firm was actually one that Chris had worked for and had done this work for them. And so there was that familiarity there. But if that hadn't have been there, then yeah, it would have been just presence at these conferences, making ourselves known, showing that we're knowledgeable on the subjects, and just going from there.
Did you turn it back to your ask slide? Just about to close up. And it has to be recommendation.
Mm-hmm.
Are you familiar with a company called 9B and 36%?
Yep.
I just think they'd be good. They do like financial auditing.
Okay. Yeah.
And startup.
Mm-hmm.